Once again, totally legit subscription box in its original packaging, I swear. This is what Art Snacks boxes look like, right? Hello and welcome back to Jenna Gets Creative. We're doing another No Box Art Box challenge, and this time the supplies inside the repurposed Art Snacks box actually do represent an Art Snacks box. No Box Art Box is the challenge where you recreate the experience of an art or craft subscription box without actually getting the box, and there are so many reasons to do it. Maybe you want to try out a service before you commit. Maybe you can't afford to subscribe right now. Maybe you're already subscribed to too many other boxes. Maybe you want to re-experience a box you got before. Maybe you're curious about a past box that isn't available for backorder anymore. Or maybe you're just bored. Lots of us are bored right now with the current state of the world. If you're watching around the time this comes out. Lots of us are pretty stressed about it too, and art is a great way to relax and give your mind a task to focus on. Today we're tackling the latest Art Snacks box, April 2020, and I'll be replicating the higher tier experience, Art Snacks Plus, but I'll point out which supplies are just the regular tier versus which ones are extra for Plus. The No Box Art Box challenge has 3 simple rules. Number 1. Pick any art or craft subscription box service out there and pick one of the boxes they've already mailed out. Whichever box you want, as long as you're able to find out what was in it. Number 2. Match the supplies from the box as close as possible using supplies you already own. Do not go shopping specifically to complete a particular box. Exact matches are fine as long as you're not redoing a box you actually got. If that's the case, use the next closest match in your collection. Number 3. Make art or a craft using only the supplies you've matched, and if the original box had a challenge prompt or a theme, try to stick to it. Only add missing essentials such as paper, a pencil, or an eraser. Don't add anything that changes the game. If you want to share what you create on social media or here on YouTube, use the hashtag NoBoxArtBox, all one word, so I can see it. I love seeing what you guys do with this challenge, and if you happen to make it a YouTube video, I'll add it to my master playlist for the challenge, which helps everyone's videos get more views. I'm going to run through what was in the original Art Snacks April 2020 boxes, along with what they cost, plus what I'm using instead and why I picked what I picked. And then I'll finish up with a little discussion about the piece I've created and how well I think the supplies worked together. As usual, I'll have a contents and price list for the original box, along with some subscription value calculations in the description box down below. And as always, all prices will be in US dollars, Canadian dollars, and Great British pound. First up, regular and Plus subscribers received 2 Pitt Artist Big Brush Pens by Faber-Castell. They look like these, the regular brush-nibbed Pitt pens, but wide enough to have a similarly sized brush nib to a Copic marker. Pitt pens contain a wide variety of colors in India inks, and many of the colors are completely light fast. They are slightly water soluble, so you can get watercolor effects out of them if you want to, and that's clearly what the Art Snacks team had in mind based on the rest of the supplies. The colors were randomized, and I have seen a couple Instagram photos where people had a red or a brown, but for the most part I've seen blues and blue-greens. List price, or RRP, on the Pitt Artist Big Brush Pens are $6 US each, but I was able to find them on DicBlick for $5.24. Obviously, I did have the option to use the 2 blue shades of regular-sized Pitt brush pens I showed, but I wanted different colors, and I wanted to embrace the watercolor nature of this box to the fullest, so I'll actually be using straight-up liquid ink. I've pulled out my blue and teal Dr. P.H. Martin's Bombay India ink bottles, and these start at $4.99 US when bought individually from DicBlick in the eyedropper bottles. The next item everybody got was a pair of Gold Favor Aqua watercolor pencils by Faber-Castell. The colors were once again random, but it seems like everyone had warm colors. Every photo I've seen has some combination of red, orange, and yellow. The RRP, or list price, is $1.25 US each, though the price per pencil in sets at DicBlick works out to $1.08. All Gold Favor pencils look pretty much like this, but these ones I'm showing in the corner are regular, non-water-soluble Goldfabers. The aquas have a hexagonal barrel shape. Since I don't have any Goldfaber aquas, I'll be using a pair of pencils from my Albrecht Dürer set, also by Faber-Castell. These are the professional quality pencils, one step up from the Goldfabers, and I've selected the same color numbers as the red and yellow I've seen in some unboxings. They are understandably a little more pricey at $2.02 on Blick and $2.90 RRP. Since we've got water-soluble supplies, we need a brush. The next item everybody got was a Tombow water brush in a flat tip. RRP on these is $6.99 US, though I found it for $6.25 on Marker Universe. I don't own a Tombow brand water brush, but any water brush will do. I'm using the smallest flat tip brush from my cheap Amazon set. Forgot the name, forgot the price, but they can't possibly have worked out to more than $2 Canadian each. The final item that everyone got was a Sakura Pigma Micron PN. This is your typical classic Micron pen, but instead of a metal-clad fineliner nib, it's a tapered plastic nib. RRP on these is $2.89 US each, though you can snag one on Jet Pens for $2.50. I have a Micron PN, so that's what I'm going to use, but really any black ink pen or fineliner will do in this case. Moving on to Plus box supplies, Plus subscribers got a 4mm nibbed liquid chrome marker by Molotov. RRP on that is $14.15 US, though you can find it on Dick Blick for $11.89. I have one in a 2mm nib from my previous subscription box. Possibly Scholar Box? I honestly don't remember. If you don't, the key here is metallic, silver if possible, as shiny as you can get. Last but not least, Plus subscribers got a 20-sheet block of cold pressed watercolor paper by Rembrandt Royal Talons. It's a 15.5 by 18 centimeter block of 100% cotton, 300 GSM cold press watercolor paper. RRP is $19.95 US, though you can snag this at Dick Blick for $15.58. I don't have that brand of paper, but I do have plenty of 300 GSM cold press cotton watercolor paper. I'll be using a 6x9 inch pre-cut sheet from B Paper Company. This is currently out of stock on Amazon, but last time I ordered it, it was $21.50 Canadian for a pack of 50 sheets, which works out to 43 cents Canadian per sheet, or $8.60 Canadian for 20. At the current exchange rate for the equivalent number of sheets, that'd be $6.13 US for 20. The piece I decided to create with these supplies is a barn owl, and I decided to really separate the warm and cool colors for effect. I started with the two India inks, making a gradient for the background and filled in the owl's eyes. For the owl itself, I knew I wanted to start with flat washes as a base, and you absolutely can do that with watercolor pencils. Since I'm using the professional pencils, I probably could lay down a light, even layer and activate it all with the water brush and get even coverage, but it would be much more saturated than the washes I started with, and you're not going to get quite as even a result with the student grade pencils that were actually sent in the box. To make a wash, I shaved off some of the pencil cores into my little paint palette and dissolved it with water. I used a craft knife to shave the pencil core, but you could also use sandpaper or a nail file to grind powder off, or break off a bit of the tip and crush it. Alternatively, if you want a darker color and maybe a less even finish, you could pick the color up directly off the pencil, or scribble a bunch down on a scrap paper and pick it back up from there using a well-wetted brush. When it was time for darker details, I wanted to achieve a rough, stylized look, so I was rough and quick with my pencil marks, and I intentionally didn't activate those marks completely when I went over them with the water brush. I brought some color from the washes I made back in to soften and tint as needed. When I was done with color and everything was dry, I added black details using the Micron and finished it off with bits of silver using the liquid chrome marker. Barn owls have some really interesting markings in their feathers that look like little black diamond shapes with pale centers, so that's what I was emulating. I do think this combination of supplies works well together, and I really like the contrast of the two very similar cool tones and the ability to get the full red to yellow gradient out of the warm tones. The nice thing about using the India inks first is that once those bits dry, they're quite difficult to reactivate, so it was easy to work confidently around the edges with my watercolors. How do you think it came out? If you try NoBox Artbox, let me know where I can find your work because I love to see it. If you're looking for something else to watch, I've got some suggestions up on the left-hand side of the screen, and if you'd like to subscribe, I'm planning a big art supply giveaway once I qualify for the YouTube Partner program. I upload art content twice a week at minimum, every Tuesday and Thursday, and if you like living life creatively, whatever that means to you, I'd love to have you along for the ride. Bye guys!